everyone, Molweni, and welcome back to another episode of Fresh Perspective, where we'll be taking another look at life. And today with me, a very special guest and friend, Lianca Fourie, or as I like to call her, Lianca Fourie. Lianca, welcome. Thank you for being on our little show that goes on.
Thank you.
It goes out to millions and millions of people around the world and gets listened to by tens of people.
Okay, no pressure.
So I like to start the session with a very easy question. And it's kind of the way that you introduce yourself as well. So what is it that you do, Lianca?
I am a play therapist. So I literally studied 7 years to teach how to play, to learn how to play.
I love it. And is that specifically for kids?
Yes. Okay. So I do play therapy. It's usually for children between the ages of 3 and 18 of years. But the theory that we use in play therapy is called Gestalt therapy. And you can actually, it's almost more like a life philosophy and a mindset. So you can actually use the principles thereof on any age. So yeah, it's actually more a way of living than it is a way of therapy, I want to say.
Oh wow, I'm very curious now. So what do you mean by it's a way of thinking or way of living? Or maybe you can explain to us what Gestalt is in a few sentences. I like the word Gestalt. What do you do? I do Gestalt play therapy.
Gestalt is a Dutch word. It means that the part of the whole is more the parts of the whole is more than the whole itself. So a person, you're not just Francois, the imago therapist and relationship specialist. You are a father, you are a brother, you are a son. There's the different parts of you that makes up the whole. So when we approach life, we should think about all our different sides and selves to be present within it. So Gestalt is a lot about being present in the moment. And because we believe that the power lies in the present, you can only change if you're really present in the moment. That's where the power is. So, and it's a lot about taking responsibility for your own life and your own emotions. So, Gestalt is about being yourself, being in the moment, being present. And we can't, within play therapy, it will entail that a child comes to you with a problem and you can't change the circumstances of the child, but you can work with the emotions the child is feeling now. You can't reverse trauma that happened, but you can work with the results of that trauma in the present moment, and you can try to strengthen the child to go back into the same circumstances, but with a self that is strengthened, so the child is more equipped to actually deal with what's happening in their lives.
Oh, wow. I've got many questions already. So how do you define being present? And maybe linked to that in the whole Gestalt mindset is being present and being yourself. What does that mean?
Being present starts with awareness. Awareness of your
awareness.
Awareness. And awareness, the way to open the door to awareness, emotional awareness, and what's happening around you, how you're feeling, is through the senses. So sensory work is actually the first step of emotional work and to become aware. So a typical Gestalt approach would be to say, close your eyes, become aware of your breathing, how your heart is pounding. If you are sitting, become aware of where your body touches the chair. So to use your senses to open the door to emotions. In the brain, the sensory part of your brain sits next to the emotions. So we use senses to open up emotions. So in therapy, we will do Smarties work to say, okay, if you choose, close your eyes and pick a color smarty with your eyes closed. Oh, it's the blue one. Tell me, what is the color blue reminds you of? The ocean. How do you feel when you see the ocean? Can you smell the ocean? Is the ocean hot or cold? And then what does that remind you of? So through the senses, you open up the emotions, and then the emotions flow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool and interesting. So in the light of that, what does it then mean to be yourself? So being present means really connecting to the present moment through the senses, but also then connecting to the emotions, either from the past or related to the past or the present, through that sensory experience.
Yes.
Did I get all of that? Okay.
Yes,
Cool.
that's right.
What does it mean to be yourself then?
To be yourself is to accept yourself with all your parts. So it is about taking responsibility for what has happened in your life, for your own feelings, for your own actions, and actually to say, I can't maybe change the things that happen to my life, but I do have power. The power is in the presence. I do have the power to choose how I'm going to react on it, how I'm going to deal with this. So it's actually about taking responsibility. And then a very easy or basic way to start doing that is to use I language and to think like using I sentences. Instead of saying, you are making me mad, it's like, I feel mad when that happens. Okay, so that's a basic principle of taking responsibility, being present, and being aware of your own self and your whole self.
So the whole self, being yourself, means taking responsibility for all the different parts in your life. So would another way be to say that you take responsibility for all the different roles you play for different people in your life?
Definitely.
Okay.
So you are more than just oneself. We always have a core self that is like, in all the selves there will be a fundamental Francois there's stuff about you that just makes you unique in who you are, but you are different as a parent as you are as a relationship specialist. Yes. Like I maybe studied 7 years to play, but when I'm a mother and I'm in my mother role, I totally forget what's the right thing to do, how to stay calm when your child is pushing your buttons, or So usually my husband will ask, what do we do now when Elizabeth does this? What do we do now? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know.
I understand exactly what
but I'm aware that my mother's self is not as good to react in the correct way, like my therapist self will do and will know. So I'm aware of that, and it's okay. Sometimes we should just say it's okay to be like that.
I like that a lot. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Lianca, because we're not, when you work with other children, you're not as emotionally invested, so it's easier for you to be present and remember what the right thing or the right way is to approach something, and not allow your emotions to interfere. But with your own children, and in my case, children and my wife, being a relationship specialist, as you call it, I like that. I'm going to use it. Relationship specialist.
Okay, take it.
It's harder because you're emotionally invested. So the perspective you have is kind of cluttered within that context. Okay.
And it's very easy to desensitize ourselves at work than it is to not feel to actually not feel emotions at home. We do feel a lot of feelings at home.
Yes, because I'm guessing, I'd like to hear your view on it. We've got more expectations at home.
Definitely. And
things in return.
Yeah. They say being a parent is nothing else than managing your own anxieties. and anxieties usually appears when there's expectations not being met. So it's exactly what you're saying.
Okay, cool. Okay, but how do you help kids that's so small? So you said from age 3 to
Yes,
18. Wow.
yes.
How do you help small kids to realize I need to take responsibility? How does that work?
Sure. I first want to say that I love working with children. I think it's a lot less complicated than adults. I
Does
feel
that
that,
include teenagers?
oh, teenagers is my favorite.
Yeah,
They
I love
say it
working.
like it is. They
Yeah.
don't like people to be fake, and they can smell fakeness from a distance. So the conversation is actually quicker, to be honest, and right to the point, and so I go with a
All
very
right,
small
sorry, I interrupted you. So firstly, talk to me about young
subject.
kids. How do you do that? And then let's talk about teenagers.
Okay, so if a child is really, really young, you work with the emotions. You're not gonna make them understand why they are doing what they are doing. So we work with the emotions, and we try to teach them how to handle and manage their emotions. So it's okay to feel all of the emotions. We accept all feelings, but we limit actions.
Ah,
So it is not about just being permissive about feelings, but not there's no consequence for you. You may be angry, but it's what we do when we are angry that makes it acceptable or not. So
yes.
the very small kids, we handle the emotions and teach them how to manage their emotions. So
What can you give us an example?
yes, so I think a lot of 3 to 6 year olds, the parents phone me and say, my child is out of control, she's so angry, she hurts other kids, and my kid has anger issues. Okay, so then the child comes to me, and we will use emoji stickers and see how the child's heart is feeling, and what is making you feel that way. How do where does the anger sit in your body? Very Gestalt. Where does it sit in your
Yes,
body?
that's the
If
sensory part.
Yes. If the anger can talk, what will it say? And then you actually realize, oh, because with anger, anger is a secondary emotion. There's always another feeling hiding behind it. So the anger will say, I hate my baby sister.
Mm.
And then we can say, it sounds as if your baby sister is making your life a bit challenging, accepting the feeling. And then,
Yes.
yes, she always get the attention from mommy.
Mm.
Oh, so now since your baby sister is here, you have less time with mommy. What do you usually do when you get angry? Oh, I hit things. And then we will say, what else can we rather do when we feel angry? Let's think of ideas. And then we can make a cool down jar with ideas of alternatives to handling or managing anger. Rather throw balloons or get a punching pillow. That's your angry pillow that you're allowed to punch. You get the idea.
Yes, yes, yes. So as an option, so maybe if it's like a violent reaction, which maybe sounds a bit strong to use
Yeah.
with kids, but like it's a physical uh, action.
Hmm.
Do you like suggest something like that? So instead of punching your sister, your baby sister, punch the pillow, or do you say let's even move away from that? Was that not a good option?
So we will say that there's anger rules. We are allowed to feel angry, but we are not allowed to punch something or someone. We are not allowed to break anything, not allowed to say bad words. Let's see what we can rather do that's healthy ways of handling anger. When we feel the anger is in our hearts or in our tummy or wherever they said anger is within their body, what else can we do? But what you're saying is we want to even try to prevent the anger
No,
from
I'm
from being
asking.
from
Yeah,
becoming an outburst. And that is what when we do parental guidelines, when we give parental guidelines, we will try to help the parents to diffuse the emotions even before it results into a tantrum or into an anger outburst. But that's for the parents to do and to learn. So they get a lot of homework from my side to do.
okay, great. And I'm
It's
guessing they're quite
different.
thankful because they know what to do.
Sorry?
I'm guessing that makes them actually grateful, because then they know what to do.
Yes.
Because they're like, I don't know what to do.
It's that typical.
So they don't mind their homework.
Yeah, it's that typical thing of, why don't we get a manual when we get the baby?
Yes.
So
yes.
just like your child doesn't know how to handle anger, they're not born with it. You as a parent don't know how to teach them how to manage their anger. So within the playroom, I try to diffuse the child's feelings, teach them responsibility, to become aware of it. But then the other part of my job as a play therapist is to help with parental guidelines on how the parent can go home and diffuse the anger and teach your child the emotional vocabulary as well. And for them to be present as parents, to become aware of their own feelings, but the child's feelings, it's all about being aware.
So the parents also get equipped in understanding
Exactly.
their own. That's awesome, because that's in my work as a relationship specialist.
Yes.
It's a big part of the process is understanding, what am I feeling? What's this emotion called? Because like you said, beneath the anger, there's other emotions. That's actually the real emotion that we need to get to, so we can express that.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about teenagers. I also love working with teenagers.
Okay, so teenagers, so as the child grows up and as they get older, you will include more responsibility work within the play therapy. Okay, so I think teenagers are so awesome to work with because they are so honest. And another thing with Gestalt is when there's unfinished business, we need to have dialogue, and that's where your work correlates with mine. We need dialogue to close unfinished business.
Yes.
Okay, so typically a teenager will come to me, and I think you can agree, their biggest issue in life is that they don't feel being heard.
Yes.
So they don't feel that their feelings are being acknowledged, and they don't have parents that make them feel that they are listened to and being understood. Because being a teenager is complicated. I mean, I think I see children between the ages of 10 and 12, I see often because they are pre-tween, we call them tweens, they're pre-teens. The hormones already start to confuse the child and to bring up emotions. And then being a teenager is full-blown hormones and emotional roller coasters and stuff. So being a teenager is difficult.
Yes.
And then your parent or parents maybe don't realize that they need to shift their parenting style from parenting to more. You actually told me this. I just want to say this.
Yeah, sorry.
I was in one of your workshops.
Sorry, Lianca, the line cut out there. Can you just repeat from parenting to?
Okay, so I actually interfered myself. Okay. I actually learned this from one of your workshops.
Okay.
You taught me that a parenting style should shift from parenting to mentoring to a more friendship type of relationship after.
That sounds brilliant. Tell me more.
Okay. So parents also needs to become aware that they can't handle their teenager the same way that they handled them as children, because then they are not going to get to the real problem. They're just going to want to handle the perceived problem that can be tantrums and anger, doors being shut or whatever, but they don't connect with the teenager. And when a teenager doesn't feel connected, they won't share. So we really need to connect before we can correct. So with the teenager, we will diffuse the emotions. We will do a typical activity of putting your parent in an empty chair, having dialogue with your parent, to just let the emotions flow, maybe to close the circle, because a child and a teenager, when they feel like they've handled something and it's finished, they can actually be finished with it. While adults say, yeah, I'm okay, but I'm not actually okay. Yes. So then we can maybe close the unfinished business cycle through dialogue in the playroom. And then we will also try to teach them, okay, how can we be responsible with our own emotions? If something like this happens again, what can you do? How can you approach your parent? Teach communication skills to be able to share your feelings within a safe way without feeling guilty about it, or without making it about the person directly. Yeah, so making it safe to communicate.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff, Lianca. And what fascinates me about working with teenagers in that way is the example you shared as well, the empty chair dialogue. Talking to your parents, even though they're not there, can actually close that loop.
Yes, it can definitely. So something that you also taught me, Francois.
And I stop that.
I'm honest. See, it helps to go for therapy to be a therapist. But something you taught me in imago therapy is to start with an appreciation, and then to link the appreciation with an emotion, to go into the opposite emotion, and then to try to resolve that. So I'm going to use that in an example. Hello, Dad. I like it when you spend time with me. It makes me feel special. A time that you don't make me feel special is when you are working all the time and you're not spending time with me. That makes me feel like I'm not important. I need you to spend more time with me, or take me on a date during the weekend, and I need you to not ignore me when I speak. So I will facilitate the process of this dialogue within the session, and we like using a plastic inflatable called Bob to make it more real for them to be able to, or draw a picture of your parent and put it on the chair, because remember, we are using the senses to open up the emotions. Yeah,
that's so cool. I've never tried that.
Yes,
that's amazing. Thank you. I'll use that. Very cool.
And I think your wife is really good with sensory work, putting it, expressing the sensory on paper or through a medium.
My wife, for those of you who don't know, my wife is an artist and brilliant.
She's amazing. She's an amazing artist.
Amazing artist. And do you sometimes get the parents in to actually have the dialogue, or do you feel like that's not necessary when you're working with teens because they are able to close that loop in that way?
Ooh, that depends on the child's temperament.
Okay.
Some teenagers would not feel safe getting the parent in. So some of them, I would ask them, do you feel like this is something you would like to do in real life? Is it something that we should try with daddy or mommy inside the room? Or do you feel more comfortable for it to be just in the empty chair? Or would you rather write a letter to them and do that? Or I will just refer them rather to you.
Okay, thanks, Lianca.
Yeah. I think the emotions can be so sensitive. You should be cautious not for it to explode. And I think you are very good with diffusing that emotions with both parties involved.
Thank you once again, Lianca. I really I'll do the EFT as we discussed.
I claim back from medical aid.
I also wanted to ask you because I see you as a really caring and connecting and brilliant person. That's why I love chatting to you and connecting with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, your turn for the EFT, right?
Thanks. Bring it on.
That's why I wanted to chat to you on fresh perspective, because I think you do have a fresh perspective. How do you feel like your work changes or have changed you? Yeah, I started with a very easy question, and now we go into the deep side.
Oh, you're throwing me in there, and I'm someone that needs to think about what I'm thinking about. You're putting me on the spot. How has my work changed me? I've come to realize that we are only human, like that song. Yeah. We are only human. We make mistakes. We are going to hurt each other, but that it is okay as long as we want to grow from it, and as long as we are learning from it. So to embrace life as it throws you some curveballs, to acknowledge all feelings, accept all feelings, and then to try to just be yourself within your feelings and the circumstances that you are in. And then to try to really grow from it and say, okay, how can I use this to grow within myself, but also to help other people? So to build empathy, because I think when we care more about ourselves and more about each other, that's ultimately how we're going to change the world, you know.
Yes.
And I think people are stuck in ways that they really don't know how to change, and they really don't know how to accept negative feelings and the feelings of negative feelings of others, and how to manage that. I mean, when your child is being defiant, it's a struggle for a parent to overcome that feelings, because you as a parent also feel then rejected by being a parent. So it's made me more aware of that we are only human, that life is going to throw you curveballs, negative feelings, and it's okay that we can actually use this to care more for ourselves and for each other. Yeah.
Sure. Makes sense. And you did well. You didn't even prepare for that question. You haven't prepared for any of the questions, so you've been doing well all along.
I wish I could.
But what if I can link to what you shared now is, for me, working with people and the way it changed and keeps on changing me is it links so much to what you were saying, is realizing that we can't be perfect. Knowing a lot of stuff and understanding how it works doesn't mean we will perfectly implement it. And that's something that I really have to keep on embracing and understand, because I want to do the things I know. But the way I especially in terms of parenting and in my marriage, I just see it as, when I know better, I do better. So when I realized, I didn't actually implement something that I already know, or I missed something out here, when I know that, I try and do better. That's the best we can do.
And that's exactly one of the things that I try to teach parents as well. When your child feels good, your child is going to act good. A child that doesn't feel good doesn't act good. So we can't expect our children to behave better if they don't feel better. Yeah. And how are we going to get them to feel better? We need to accept their feelings. We need to say all feelings are okay to feel, and while we limit actions to still be the parent. But as parents, we tend to just want our children to stop feeling negative feelings. Don't do that. That's not necessary. It's nothing to cry about. Stop it.
Yeah.
And then we tend to throw out more commands and threats. And a very spirited child will see that as a challenge and want to challenge the challenge. So then we don't connect at all. Yeah. And if we don't connect within the relationship, there's not going to be growth, or we're not going to feel better. So we're not going to behave better. So then we're just stuck.
Yes. Okay, Lianca, I've got one more question. I know you have to go and to play.
I need to go play.
Yes. What do you feel is like your superpower that you have to give to the world? So usually I call it the fresh perspective. What's your fresh perspective or fresh take on the world? But Nicoline, my wife, told me I should rather ask people what their superpower is that you feel you give, that you have.
You know what? I think this is something that maybe was spoken over me since I was a little child. So it is something that I've maybe grown into, or maybe it was a temperament trait that was seen by me from a very young age, but I would say it's joy. So to try to be joyful, and luckily joyful can manifest in being playful.
Yes.
So just maybe to be joyful to share joy, to share, that's my way of sharing the love. And you can have joy in difficult circumstances as well. And I think as a therapist, I want to teach children that to be joyful is more a choice than it is a result of something. Because the children I see is very broken children. I mean, we are all broken, as we have said before, but to be joyful is to choose, despite of all the things that happen in my life, I still can take responsibility for my own emotions and own actions and be joyful still in my core self, in myself. So that I would love that to be my superpower, joy, to spread joy.
It is. Lianca, I've known you for many years now, and that is definitely, when you said, I was like, yes, it's true. That is
Thank you.
I'm very grateful to know you, and I'm very grateful that you agreed to share your insights and your passion on my little podcast.
It was so nice being here. I feel very privileged.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning in. And remember, if you change your perspective, you can transform your life. Bye, Lianca.
Bye.